For decades, Area 51 was a blank spot on the map, a void in the collective consciousness. Its very existence was debated, a whispered rumor in the vast expanse of the Nevada desert. It was a place that captured imaginations and fueled countless conspiracy theories, shrouded in secrecy and myth. The truth, carefully guarded behind layers of classification, remained elusive, accessible only to a select few. The world could only speculate about what lay hidden within its heavily guarded borders. The government denied its existence, issuing blanket statements of ignorance or dismissing inquiries with carefully crafted ambiguity. Official documents were stamped with warnings, shielding the base from public scrutiny. While thousands worked in silence, their lives intertwined with the secrets held within Area 51. They were bound by oaths of secrecy, their stories untold, their experiences buried deep beneath the weight of national security. Pushing the limits of technology, experimental aircraft soared through the skies, groundbreaking innovations took shape in hidden laboratories, and the future of warfare was being forged in the heart of the desert. Now, veterans are breaking their silence. Decades after their service, the burden of secrecy has become too heavy to bear. They are stepping forward, ready to share their experiences and shed light on the hidden realities of Area 51. Not with tales of aliens or fantastical stories of extraterrestrial encounters. The truth they reveal is far more grounded and far more disturbing, but with stories of toxic exposure and devastating illness. They speak of working in hazardous conditions, surrounded by dangerous materials, with little or no protection. They describe a hidden war, a silent struggle against an unseen enemy. It was a battle fought not on a traditional battlefield, but within the confines of a top-secret military base. Not against foreign enemies, with guns and bombs and tanks. This was a different kind of conflict, one waged against insidious threats that permeated the air and seeped into the soil, but against invisible poisons in their workplace. Unseen and often unacknowledged, these toxins silently attacked their bodies, leaving a trail of sickness and suffering in their wake. Radioactive and chemical waste, byproducts of cutting-edge research and classified experiments, were carelessly discarded, contaminating the environment and endangering the lives of those who worked there. Left from secret operations, became a silent killer, lurking in the shadows of the desert landscape. The legacy of these operations is not one of technological triumph, but of human tragedy, became their true adversary. The very environment they worked in, the air they breathed, the water they drank, turned against them, becoming a source of illness and despair. These men and women now fight for recognition, for acknowledgement of the sacrifices they made and the harm they endured in service to their country. Battling aggressive cancers and mysterious diseases, their bodies ravaged by the toxic legacy of Area 51, they seek medical care, financial assistance, and above all, justice. Their testimonies reveal a tragic cost, a hidden price paid by those who dedicated their lives to protecting national security. The price of secrecy paid in human lives. The names of those who have succumbed to illness are a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked secrecy and environmental negligence. The real story of Area 51 is not just about secret aircraft, advanced technology, and government conspiracies. It's a human story. A story of sacrifice, betrayal, and the enduring fight for justice. But about the people broken by the work, the individuals whose health and well-being were sacrificed in the name of national security. Their stories deserve to be heard. As these veterans speak out, their voices rising above the din of decades of silence, they are challenging the official narrative and demanding accountability. They demand accountability for the hidden costs of national security, for the lives lost and the health compromised in the pursuit of technological advancement and military superiority. Area 51, a name synonymous with mystery and clandestine operations, sits nestled deep within the vast expanse of the Nevada desert. Its remote location, seemingly worlds away from civilization, has always been a key component of its enigmatic allure. The stark, arid landscape stretches out in every direction, providing a natural barrier against prying eyes and unwanted intrusions. Isolated for secrecy, a deliberate choice to shield its activities from public scrutiny, but also surrounded by very real danger. The perimeter is heavily guarded, a clear indication that unauthorized access is strictly prohibited. Warning signs dot the landscape, serving as a stark reminder of the potential consequences for those who dare to trespass. Adjacent to the Nevada test site, a sprawling expanse of land dedicated to the testing of nuclear weapons, Area 51's history is inextricably linked to the Cold War era and the nation's pursuit of nuclear supremacy. The region was blanketed with radioactive fallout from numerous atmospheric nuclear tests conducted over several decades. Mushroom clouds, once symbols of scientific progress, now cast a long shadow over the landscape, a constant reminder of the invisible threat that lingers in the soil and air. The soil and water became contaminated with radioactive isotopes, posing a significant health risk to anyone exposed. The long-term effects of this contamination are still being studied, but the potential for harm is undeniable. A threat often ignored or downplayed in the relentless rush to win the Cold War, where national security concerns often overshadowed environmental and human health considerations. The pursuit of technological superiority came at a steep price, one that continues to be paid by those who lived and worked in the area. Hazardous waste, generated from the various activities conducted at Area 51, was routinely dumped into open burn pits, a common practice at the time, but one that had devastating consequences. These pits were then set ablaze with jet fuel, creating towering infernos that released plumes of toxic smoke into the atmosphere, further contaminating the environment and exposing workers to a cocktail of harmful chemicals. Workers, often unaware of the dangers they faced, lived and slept in close proximity to this toxic environment, their health and well-being unknowingly compromised. Unaware they were inhaling a deadly cocktail of chemicals and radioactive particles, these individuals unknowingly sacrificed their health in service of national security. The long-term consequences of this exposure are still being felt today. The intense secrecy that protected cutting-edge technology and classified projects also conveniently hid the extent of the environmental hazards and the potential health risks faced by those working at the facility. Area 51, therefore, became a proving ground not just for secret weapons and advanced aircraft, but also, tragically, for human endurance against a silent, insidious, toxic assault. The legacy of this era continues to shape the landscape and the lives of those affected by its hidden dangers. Dave Crete, a former Air Force communications specialist, a man who dedicated years of his life to serving his country, now carries a burden far heavier than any he bore during his time in uniform. His story is one of dedication, sacrifice, and ultimately, a profound sense of betrayal. He served at Area 51 in the late 70s and early 80s, during a period of intense Cold War activity and groundbreaking technological advancements. Little did he know that his service at this highly classified installation would come at such a steep personal cost. The secrets he guarded, the work he performed, would later cast a long shadow over his health and well-being. He remembers the pride and camaraderie, the shared sense of purpose that bound the men and women stationed at Area 51 together. They were a team, working towards a common goal, often under immense pressure and in complete secrecy. But he also remembers the ever-present foul smoke from burn pits, a constant reminder of the less glamorous, more dangerous aspects of life at the base. These pits were used to dispose of all manner of waste, often including hazardous materials, and the resulting smoke permeated the air, day in and day out. The acrid smell became a part of the landscape, an unavoidable consequence of the work they were doing. Years later, Crete developed severe respiratory problems, a persistent cough that wouldn't go away, shortness of breath that made even simple tasks a struggle. He sought medical attention, but the doctors couldn't pinpoint the cause, attributing it to allergies or other common ailments. And then there were the unexplained skin lesions, strange rashes and sores that appeared without warning, causing discomfort and embarrassment. He consulted dermatologists, underwent biopsies, but the mystery remained unsolved. Only after connecting with other veterans, men and women who had also served at Area 51, did a disturbing pattern begin to emerge. He found solace and understanding in their shared experiences, a sense of validation that he wasn't alone in his suffering. It was then that he realized a pattern. Many suffered similar mysterious illnesses, respiratory ailments, skin conditions, autoimmune disorders. The list went on and on. The veterans began comparing notes, sharing medical records, and piecing together the puzzle of their declining health. His diagnosis included chronic lung disease, a debilitating condition that made it difficult to breathe, to exercise, to even perform everyday activities. The doctors confirmed that his lungs were scarred and damaged, likely due to exposure to toxins, and other debilitating conditions, a constellation of health problems that seemed to defy explanation. He faced a future filled with uncertainty, with constant medical appointments, and with the knowledge that his health would likely continue to decline. The sense of betrayal runs deep, a profound feeling of having been let down by the very institution he swore to protect. He had dedicated his life to serving his country, and in return, he had been exposed to toxins that had ravaged his health. He was trusted with national secrets, entrusted with safeguarding sensitive information that could have far-reaching consequences. He upheld his oath, never revealing the classified details of his work. But he was left unprotected from toxic exposure, exposed to hazardous materials without adequate safety measures or proper warnings. The government had prioritized secrecy over the health and well-being of its own personnel. Hundreds of former workers report rare cancers, unusual and aggressive forms of the disease that are rarely seen in the general population. These cancers have claimed the lives of many veterans, leaving behind grieving families and unanswered questions. And autoimmune disorders, conditions in which the body's immune system attacks its own tissues, causing chronic inflammation and a wide range of debilitating symptoms. These disorders can be difficult to diagnose and treat, leaving veterans struggling with pain, fatigue, and a diminished quality of life. The rates of these illnesses are far above normal rates, statistically significant increases that cannot be explained by chance alone. The evidence points to a clear link between service at Area 51 and the development of these health problems. Men like Robert Frost, a dedicated airman who served his country with honor and distinction, only to be struck down by a rare and aggressive cancer. And Walter Kaza, another veteran who bravely served at Area 51, later succumbing to a mysterious illness that baffled doctors. They died from rare diseases after handling exotic materials, substances that were never fully identified or understood. These materials were used in cutting-edge research and development, but the potential health risks were never adequately assessed or communicated. Their stories form a chorus of suffering, a collective voice of pain and injustice that demands to be heard. These veterans are not just statistics. They are real people with families, hopes, and dreams. Their experiences indicting the reckless practices at the base, the lack of concern for the health and safety of the personnel who work there. The government's failure to protect these veterans is a stain on our nation's conscience. Dave Crete's journey is a stark reminder, a cautionary tale about the human cost of secrecy and the importance of protecting those who serve our country. They are heroes of a secret war, warriors who fought on the front lines of technological innovation, often without knowing the true risks they faced. Now, they are left to fight their final battle alone, battling chronic illnesses and struggling to get the recognition and support they deserve. Their fight is a testament to their resilience, their courage, and their unwavering commitment to justice. The oath of secrecy followed veterans into civilian life, even into the doctor's office. They couldn't reveal where they worked or what they were exposed to. Area 51 didn't officially exist. Doctors were left guessing, unable to diagnose or treat the real causes of illness. The VA denied claims. Medical records omitted any mention of the base. Lawsuits were dismissed under the state secrets privilege, blocking any inquiry into environmental conditions. Veterans were trapped, sick, unable to prove their case, and denied care. Secrecy, once a shield for the nation, became a weapon against its own. The toxic legacy of Area 51 didn't stop with the veterans, it followed them home. Families reported a disturbing pattern of illnesses, birth defects, and genetic disorders. Wives and children suffered, some from secondary exposure, others from inherited damage. The financial and emotional toll was staggering, with little support or recognition. The sense of betrayal deepened as families realized their suffering was a consequence of broken promises. The invisible enemy became a daily reality, haunting entire generations. The fight for recognition is about more than compensation. It's about acknowledging a chain of suffering that extends far beyond the base. Denied care, veterans turned to the courts and Congress. Lawsuits sought only the names of the chemicals that were killing them, not classified secrets. The government invoked state secrets, and courts dismissed the cases. Congressional hearings finally gave veterans a voice, exposing the hidden costs of secrecy. Media attention and political pressure forced the government to acknowledge the base's existence. President Clinton signed annual exemptions, keeping the base secret but tacitly admitting its reality. It was a small crack in the wall of secrecy, a hard-won partial victory. The fight for medical care and compensation, however, continued. The injustice deepened when compared to other Cold War workers. Civilians at nuclear sites received compensation for radiation-linked illnesses under federal law. Area 51 veterans exposed to the same hazards were denied benefits because their workplace was classified. The government acknowledged harm to one group while denying the suffering of another. Veterans sought only equal treatment, not special favors. The line between justice and neglect was drawn by secrecy, not by exposure or illness. Area 51 veterans became a class of forgotten patriots, left outside the circle of compassion. Today, the fight for Area 51 veterans remains unresolved. Annual exemptions still shield the base from oversight, leaving new generations at risk. Advocates push for laws granting presumptive benefits, but progress is slow. Key questions remain. What toxins were present? Has the danger truly been addressed? Secrecy blocks answers, perpetuating mistrust and uncertainty. The government's refusal to declassify health data leaves veterans in the dark. Their struggle is a cautionary tale about the cost of secrecy eclipsing the duty to care for service members. The legacy of Area 51 is both technological achievement and a painful fight for justice. The story of Area 51 veterans is one of loyalty, sacrifice, and the search for truth. Their reward for silent service was illness and a battle for acknowledgement. Their struggle calls for transparency and accountability in national security. The health of service members must never be secondary to secrecy. The lesson protects secrets, but never at the cost of lives. Honoring these veterans means action, medical care, compensation,